interesting side note to the saga of Judah and Joseph, we have even today a conflict among Orthodox Jews, and some people say the ultra-Orthodox Jews, between the students of the VILNA Gaon, Rabbi Eliyahu, Elijah of Vilnius, and the students of the Baal Shem Tov, most notably Chabad Chassidim, Breslov Chassidim, and other Chassidim who follow the pathways of the Baal Shem Tov. And the question is, why is it that such a schism happened among Orthodox Jews? What did this bring the conflict that has raged for over 250 years? And I'll give you a brief synopsis of the concepts. There exists within the Torah world several streams of thought. I have identified it to three streams. There are really more than three streams, but three major streams of thought enter into the Jewish literature. And the three streams deal with what I call information, inspiration, and integration. The first, information, is called the Way of Wisdom by Rabbi Lowy, the Maharal of Prague. And basically, it works as follows. The world is a struggle. And because it's a struggle, it conflicts with the responsibility of the person with God. So says the classic interpreters of the Torah. And so what should the response be? So the response of some of them, most notably the Vilna Gaon, is leave the world. Don't deal with the world. Don't try to make for a livelihood. God will help you. Study Torah as much as you can, to the point where that's the only thing that matters to you. Do God's commandments. Do them with all of your heart. Do them all the time, as much as you possibly can. Avoid the conflict with the world as much as you can, and bring yourself into God's world. Second perspective sees the world not as something to be avoided, but as a struggle that builds the person up to a higher level. And this was indicative of the Dubno Maggid, who believed that you had to go out and struggle and deal with life, and there, in the struggles of life, overcome those struggles and do what you had to do as a Jew. Then, this was greatness. Greatness was when you dealt with the struggles of life. The Baal Shem Tov taught, it's not just about you. It's not just about developing yourself by either getting involved in Torah and avoiding the world, or, despite the struggles, be a good Jew and become a better person. That's not the purpose. The purpose is making the world a better world, changing the way the world is, making the physical a vessel for godliness. The first and the third opinion are diametrically opposed. And truly, this was the reason why the Vilna Gaon was so upset with the Chassidim. He could deal with the second opinion. Struggle with life, and despite the struggles, you overcome them, you're a better person. He understood that. But to transform the physical isn't real as far as he was concerned. The only reality was gone. The Baal Shem Tov taught that the world is real. When it says in the Torah, Bereshis bara Elokim, that God created a world, that's truth. Since it's true, there really is a world. And there really is a world as far as God is concerned. And God wants the physical world, but he wants a holy physical world, a place where God can dwell with man. And it is this reason why the Vilna Gaon accused the Chassidim of heresy, because he did not believe that the physical world contained any holiness, that you could actually transform the physical world into a vessel for God. Most interestingly, the Vilna Gaon considered himself the Messiah son of Joseph. This is found in the writings of his student, Rav Hillel Rivlin, who claimed that his teacher, the Vilna Gaon, Rabbi Eliyahu of Vilnius, sent him together with other students in Jerusalem to pray together and to study together and to beseech God to reveal the Messiah son of Joseph, which is the Vilna Gaon. And so, the Vilna Gaon represents Joseph, and Joseph's character is represented by the power of the study of Torah. Even though Joseph was involved in the world, but truly, Joseph's level represents the study of Torah, which the Vilna Gaon was the greatest exemplar of someone devoted to Torah. There had been no one like him for thousands of years. The Chassidim represented the characteristic of Judah and his brothers. And Judah most notably was known for struggling and dealing with the conflict of the world and overcoming that conflict, transforming himself, transforming his environment, making the environment better. That's Judah, that's David, that's the Baal Shem Tov, that's the Beis HaMikdash. And truly, the Baal Shem Tov taught that his teaching was the teaching that would bring about the revelation of the Mashiach, because the teachings of Chassidus has to deal with Mashiach, son of David, the transformation of the physical, the transformation of the Malchut. Interestingly, there is such a thing called the Torah codes. Torah codes briefly mean that people and places and things are hinted at in a code that you can identify in the Torah at precisely the same interval for the particular word. For example, if the word is melech, king, and it comes at a particular interval, you know that the king has a code there. And if his name is Melech David or Melech Shlomo, and it comes at a code, let's say 50 words, 50 letters in interval, so you see that a code has been placed there, that this was specifically meant to prepare and to predict that particular individual. So there's such a thing as Torah codes, that within the Torah, the letters of the Torah are been predetermined so that they predict individuals, and you can find individuals through specific coded intervals. It could be 1,000-letter intervals, it could be 20-letter intervals, but you find the individual, his time, and his accomplishment in a particular place in the Torah at predictable intervals. That's the theory of the Torah codes. They discovered, the greatest rabbis, in code. Where is the encoding of the Vilna Gaon, the genius, the prodigy of Vilnius? In the phrase where the brothers tell Joseph, we're not spies. We were never spies. We're all children of one father. Now think about it. The Vilna Gaon, he is hinted in that verse where the brothers beseech Joseph and say, we're not spies. The prodigy of Vilnius accused the Chassidim of being spiritual spies, people who rejected the Torah, who come from idolatry. And the Chassidim responded and pled with him, please, we worship the same God as you. We're devoted to God the same as you. Why do you accuse us? That was the message of my relative, Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk, who pled this way to the Vilna Gaon. And when he could not get an audience, left for Tiberias, left for the Holy Land, because he couldn't stand the conflict. You see, the Vilna Gaon said he was from Joseph. The Chassidim come from Judah. Ultimately, they will get together. That's the prophecy of this week. In the words of Ezekiel, that he will take the staff of Joseph and the staff of Judah and put them together, and they will become one.